Ben Shapiro joining me now as well. Ben Shapiro, of course, former editor at large at Breitbart. Ben, you know Steve Bannon well. Take us inside his head.
Okay, so here's what Steve is probably thinking. Steve has been marginalized by the Trump administration for months now. There are a number of figures who are being given more power than he was. Jared Kushner, Ivanka Trump, H.R. McMaster, John Kelly, the list goes on, Gary Cohn. And so he'd obviously been marginalized. Whether he chose to quit 2 weeks ago, as the New York Times is reporting, or whether he was fired by the chief of staff, it was pretty obvious to Bannon, clearly, that he was on his way out. And so you have to see his activity over the last week as a real reflection of that knowledge. So in the last week, what he's done is he's pushed Trump to not disassociate from the alt-right. He's pushed him to not disassociate from what he considers Bannon's base. And Trump acquiesced because that's who Trump is. And Bannon is seeking to now capitalize on that. He gave that interview to the American Prospect where he ripped Trump's foreign policy up and down, proclaimed that he wanted a trade war with China, proclaimed that Trump's foreign policy was essentially too interventionist. And now he's going back to Breitbart. All of that is setting up the battle lines. The battle lines are going to be that Bannon was ousted because the globalists took control of the Trump administration, that Trump has betrayed his base, and that Bannon is the actual real leader of the populist, nationalist, alt-right movement. That the alt-right is a small wing of that, but not the whole movement. But that Bannon is the true leader of that movement. Bannon is a super ambitious, deeply vengeful guy, and he knows that he's just held the most powerful position he will ever hold, unless his new position is going to be helping to tear down Trump and build himself up in the process.
It sounds as if you're saying that Steve Bannon's ego is just as big as this president's.
Well, I mean, I said that at the time when he was hired. I said that essentially Bannon is Trump's mirror, except he's smarter than Trump. And I think that remains true. He's a very ambitious fellow. Look, he doesn't have any other place to go other than Breitbart. He's not going to get hired as a host at some network. He's not going to get hired by a think tank. His only choice is to now try and seize control of a movement that he truly believes he was instrumental in building, not just Trump. He thinks that he was sort of the boots on the ground and the intellectual veneer for Trumpism, and now he is going to try to seize that mantle from Trump himself if Trump steps out of line. And I think that you'll see that become clear over the coming months, because Trump is likely to do things that don't fall in line with what Bannon wants, or what, for example, Jeff Sessions, who is an ally of Bannon's, would want. And when that happens, I think that you'll see Breitbart suddenly become some of Trump's most vociferous critics. And, of course, I think that Bannon will rely on folks like the people in the left media. Suddenly, the people who Bannon supposedly hates, Bannon will be on all of their shows now because they don't like Trump either. And so he knows that they'll bring him on to bash Trump, just to bash Trump. And so he's put himself in pretty good position to be a significant thorn in Trump's side over the last couple months and certainly over the last week.
Ben, what makes you think that with Steve Bannon out of the White House, the president is now going to lean more toward these globalist instincts than the nationalist instincts which seem to have guided him so far?
Well, I think that those instincts really haven't guided him in a lot of policy. I mean, you've seen his talk has been very kind of nationalist, populist. I don't know what those labels mean, but these are Bannon labels. They've been in line with Bannon's talk. His talk has been Bannon talk, but his walk has been Gary Cohn walk. And I think that's what Bannon recognizes. If you look at a lot of Trump's policies, his policies have not been tariffs. His policies have not been trade war with China. His policy has not been to destroy NAFTA wholesale. His policy has not been to withdraw troops from South Korea. These are all policies that it hasn't been to get out of the war in Afghanistan. So Bannon is smart enough to realize that Trump was saying a lot of the Bannon-type stuff publicly, but what he was actually doing is very not Bannon stuff. And so now Bannon is going to turn around and, I assume, rip Trump for not doing what Bannon wants him to do, and in the process build himself up as sort of the populist figurehead who opposes the great betrayer.
Ben Shapiro. Ben, thanks so much, former editor at large there.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.